Welcome to Starbound. My name is Aaron, and I'll be your narrator today. And if you love human-made HFY stories, then you can check us out on Patreon now, where you'll find exclusive episodes that you can't see anywhere else. But in the meantime, let's get to today's first story. I've been reading fighters my whole life. Not reading as in watching, though I've done plenty of that too. More hours than I can count, in gyms that smelled of sweat and old leather, and the hope that only lives in places where men are trying to become something harder than they were born. I mean the other thing. The thing you learn after enough time in the corner. Enough rounds looking across a canvas at something that wants to hurt your man. You learn to read the body before the body knows what it's doing. My name is Danny Coyle. I've been a cornerman for 19 years, and before that I was a fighter for 11, which is a polite way of saying I lost more than I won. But I never once went down without earning it. I turned pro at 22 out of a gym in Youngstown that smelled of mildew and ambition in roughly equal measure. And by the time I was 33, I knew I was better suited to the corner than I ever was to the canvas. I followed Lev Heron through 14 title fights across 4 weight classes. And when he retired and the diplomatic corps came calling with a position that apparently required a cultural liaison who looked like he'd been hit a lot, I came along as part of the package. I'm not sure exactly what my role is, in diplomatic terms. Mostly I stand near Lev and watch the room. That's what I was doing the afternoon the delegations arrived. The exhibition floor was a space that costs a lot of money to look like it doesn't. Clean stone, tiered seating, lighting that made everything look considered. And maybe 200 beings in attendance. Species I recognized, and species I didn't. The third delegation through the door moved differently from the others. Unhurried, aware of every exit. The whole group carried the same quality of stillness, but one of them had it more than the rest. I clocked him before anyone made introductions. You always clock the one who has it more. He was approximately my height, compact and lean, with skin the deep red-brown of old terracotta, and a build that doesn't advertise itself. Long fingers, pale amber eyes that didn't move the way eyes usually move. Not scanning, not tracking. Just resting on whatever they were pointed at with a weight that felt deliberate. He carried himself the way I've seen maybe a dozen men carry themselves in 40 years of gyms and rings. Coiled. Not tense. Not ready to explode. Just held. Everything in reserve. Waiting for a trigger I couldn't yet name. The formal introductions came 20 minutes in. The third delegation were the Duvari. Their champion stepped forward when his name was called, Ma'arvan. The translator delivered his record with the careful neutrality that means what follows is significant. I've heard the same register and ring announcers for 30 years. It means the crowd is going to have an opinion. 38 bouts, no losses. The translator paused. The pause told me the next part mattered more. No hits landed. Not one. In 38 bouts, across 3 species and a dozen venues, not a single opponent had touched him. The translator clarified, because apparently the look on several faces required it. In Duvari culture, landing a blow was not a scoring metric. It was the only metric. The bout was a question. The answer, 38 times, had been the same. I watched Mavarin receive this the way a man receives a weather report about his own country. He already knew. I filed it away, kept watching. The exhibition bout that followed was between 2 other competitors, and when it concluded, Mavarin stepped forward again. The offer was genuine. I could tell that much before the translation came through. The briefing documents had mentioned it somewhere around page 40. The Duvari treated combat invitations as professional courtesy. He was extending his hand in the only language that mattered to his people. Our protocol officer moved to decline, He had a phrase ready. You could see him assembling the words. I stepped around him. I don't have a good explanation for this that would satisfy a disciplinary board, if it ever comes to that. I've been asked about it since, and the honest answer is that standing down wasn't something I had a procedure for. 30 years of gyms will do that to you. When someone steps up, you step up. It isn't bravery, it's reflex. I took my jacket off. I handed it to Lev without looking at him. Lev took it without saying anything, which is one of the reasons I've worked with him for 20 years. I rolled my shoulders on the way to the floor. The terracotta skin, the ambered eyes, the coiled stillness. Let's find out what pulls that trigger. The floor was smooth underfoot, which I noted the way you note anything that might matter when the space between standing and not standing is measured in fractions of a second. Marvin crossed to the center without ceremony. No performance, no address to the room. He settled into his stance, and I took a moment to clock it properly. It was a good stance. Weight back, not forward, which told me he was a counterfighter by preference. High guard, elbows tight, covering the center line. Knees soft. He wasn't going to lunge at me. He was going to wait and answer whatever I gave him. I'd fought counterfighters my whole career. I'd cornered Lev through 4 of them. I knew what they wanted. The first committed strike. The one that told them everything. The weight shift, the hip rotation, the shoulder drop. The whole story of the punch. Written before it landed. They read it, and they answered before the sentence was finished. I'd never met one that could read faster than I could chain. I didn't think about it in those terms at the time. I just read the guard. High guard with a forward weight bias and a counterfighter means the answer to the jab is inside, crossbody, angled up. You close that answer with the cross. The hook opens the far side. The cross resets. The hook finishes. Jab, cross, hook. 5 beats, standard progression. The thing you drill until it runs without you. I threw the jab. Something happened in Marvin's guard. A small shift. A beginning of response. I was already throwing the cross. I threw the cross. I threw the hook. I threw the cross, I threw the hook, I stepped back. All 5 had landed. I knew it the way you know it. The specific weight of contact that isn't air, isn't graze, isn't blocked. Each one had found something solid. The jab had caught his cheekbone. The cross had caught the bridge of his nose. The hook had caught the jaw. The cross had caught the jaw again, other side. The hook had come back and caught the jaw a second time. Marvin's legs had bent on the 4th. He'd found them again by the 5th. He didn't go down. The physical frame on him was extraordinary, and whatever was holding him up, pride or training or the sheer fact of a body that had never been asked this question before, it held. His guard had dropped. His stillness was gone. He was standing the way a man stands when something has changed in the room and he hasn't found it yet. I waited, hands still up. Standard. Give the man room. Let him find his feet and decide what he wanted to do next. He found his feet, took a breath, straightened. The pale amber eyes came back to me, and they were clear, which told me the lights were on even if someone had rearranged the furniture. Good chin. I noted it professionally, worth remembering. He didn't raise his guard again. That was when I heard the room. I'd been inside the fight, which is where you have to be, and the room had been doing something behind me that I hadn't been tracking. What it had been doing, apparently, was nothing. 200 beings and whatever passes for silence when that many lungs stop drawing at the same time. I registered it now. The weight of it. The protocol officer had gone the color of old chalk. Lev was standing very still in the way that means something significant has happened, and he's waiting to find out if it's his problem. Marvin said something. The translator took a moment. I noticed the moment. Translators work fast. That's their job. A pause means the sentence has done something to them. "You hit me," the translator said. I looked at Marvin. He was watching me with those amber eyes, and there was something in them I couldn't name. Something that wasn't anger and wasn't pain and wasn't pride. Something that had arrived in his face in the last 30 seconds and hadn't finished settling. 5 times, I said. I said it the way you say it after a round. Not to wound, to establish the count. 5 is 5. He was quiet for a moment.
Where did you learn to do that?
I thought about it. Not because the answer was complicated, but because I wanted to give him the right one. Place called Kowalski's, I said. Corner of Mahoning and Midlothian, Youngstown, Ohio. Coach named Eddie Sillagi. I was 12. Marvin looked at me for a long moment. Then he lowered his head. Just slightly. Not a bow. Something more considered than that. The bout was over. I didn't need an official to tell me. He'd decided it, and his decision had more weight in that room than anything a judge could have put on paper. Someone moved us to a side room. I wasn't tracking who. A protocol function, a diplomatic reflex. Someone deciding that 200 witnesses standing in collective silence needed to be given somewhere else to put their attention. The room was smaller, quieter, lit with indirect light that tells you someone spent money on the fixtures. There was water on a low table that nobody touched. Lev came in behind me. He had my jacket. He handed it over without comment, which is how I knew it was serious. He sat down on the far side of the table and looked at the wall. There was a Davari already in the room, not Marvin. A younger one, leaner, with the same terracotta skin, but paler. The way young skin is before it settles into what it's going to be. He introduced himself as Marvin's second. His trade common was better than the main translators, clean and direct, and he looked at me with those amber eyes carrying an expression I didn't have a label for. He asked if he could explain something. I said go ahead. He explained the record. Not the wins. I'd had the wins. The other part. In Davari culture, he said, contact in formal combat was not a metric of victory or defeat. It was a category of event. A bout was assessed entirely on whether a blow landed. Not how many, not how hard. Whether. The answer, in Marvin's 38 bouts, had been the same each time. No contact recorded. Not once. In Davari terms, an opponent who could not land a blow had not been tested. They had been declined. 38 opponents before me. None of them had been tested. Until today. That's a different kind of contest than the ones I'd fought. I filed all of that away. I listened to all of this. I nodded when it seemed like nodding was the right response. Then I asked the thing I needed to know. Is he all right? The aide stopped, looked at me, blinked once. The question had come from a direction he hadn't expected. Physically, I added. Is he hurt?
He is.
He considered the word.
Uninjured. Physically uninjured.
Good, I said. That was what I needed. Lev tried then. He's better at the diplomatic layer than I am, which is why he's the liaison and I'm the man who stands near him and watches the room. He laid it out carefully. The cultural weight of what had happened, the significance of the moment, the fact that every Davari in that room had watched something occur for which they had no framework. He looked at me the way he looks at me when he needs me to understand that something is larger than the room it happened in. I listened to that too. When he finished, I said, he telegraphs the counter off the jab. Lev closed his eyes briefly. Drops his right elbow about a quarter inch. The guard opens on the cross side. I'd have spotted it in round 1 on anyone else, but I was hoping for the thing that fires the read and react first, so I caught it later than I should have. I wasn't complaining. It was useful information. If the situation arose again, I'd know where to start looking. The aide had gone very still. Not the Davari stillness, the held, coiled kind. The other kind. The kind that means a mind is working on a problem it didn't know it had.
You were analyzing him,
the aide said.
During.
That's the job, I said. The aide looked from me to Lev. Lev offered nothing useful, which is his professional default when he hasn't finished deciding how he feels about something. The aide looked at me for a long moment. He had the look of someone trying to fit something into a space that wasn't shaped for it, turning it, trying different angles. I recognized it. I'd seen Lev wear it across the table from opponents who fought in ways the game plan hadn't covered. You see it when someone's model of the world has just had a room added that wasn't in the blueprints.
The 5 strikes,
the aide said slowly.
That sequence. Is that something your species does? A human thing?
It's something I do, I said. Some fighters work single shots, some work combinations. I work combinations, specifically that combination off that guard with that weight distribution. It's what the read said to throw. The aide was quiet for a moment. He glanced at Lev, who had nothing to offer. Then he looked back at me.
Did you know you were going to hit him?
I sat with that for a moment. Not because the answer was complicated, because I wanted to give him the right one. I knew I was going to try.
Hello, my all members, subscribers, followers. I said that my channel is low or channel, and I have submitted some videos in English to change the motto of my channel. Please subscribe my channel, view my videos, and share in all of your friends on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, every social media platform to send my video and view more videos. Viewer in my video. Please help me to provide some time to spend with me. Thank you to all members who can subscribe my channel and support me some time. Please view more video and entertainment video. Please help me sometime to support my channel because I am a low middle class family. Please help me.